Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating new repository from Anthropic that is absolutely shaking up the financial sector. Literally 3 days ago, the company behind Claude quietly dropped something on GitHub that completely restructures how we think about enterprise automation. So we're going to unpack exactly what they built, how it works under the hood, and most importantly, why it matters to you.
We are looking at a massive release that might just end a 20-year monopoly on the financial analyst workflow. It's an Apache 2.0 repository that shot up to trend number 1 in Python the very day it shipped, hitting over 11,000 stars almost immediately. They basically took what used to be a generic skills bundle and completely restructured it into 10 highly specific, named end-to-end agents.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll cover 1. The Wall Street monopoly. 2. Meet the financial agents. 3. Under the hood, architecture. 4. Orchestration and skill syncing. And 5. Guardrails, security and oversight.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, the Wall Street monopoly.
To really grasp the impact of this new code, you kind of have to understand the environment it was released into. For 2 decades, the analyst workflow has been an entirely closed shop. Building a standard pitch deck or running a discounted cash flow model meant you needed a Bloomberg terminal, and that costs a staggering $25,000 a year per single seat. Add to that an Excel template strictly owned by a bulge bracket bank, an incredibly expensive data subscription, and usually about 3 years of grueling, unpaid weekends just learning these rigid modeling conventions, fueled entirely by lukewarm office coffee. The whole methodology lived entirely inside the banks.
So this is the fundamental shift. We are moving away from that rigid, proprietary, closed-shop vault right into an agile Apache 2.0 open-source ecosystem. It's a total David versus Goliath dynamic. What Anthropic just published isn't just code, it's the entire analytical skill ladder. They've literally open-sourced the workflow itself, the prompts, the conventions, the audit checklists, and even the plumbing required to actually pull the data.
Moving on to Section 2, Meet the Financial Agents.
Let's open up the casing here and look at the actual named agents Anthropic has deployed to replace these historically manual workflows. There's a really fascinating divide. Up at the top, we have advisory agents, like the pitch agent. This one runs comps, precedents, and an LBO end-to-end to output a fully branded pitch deck. Then, down below, we have the back-office operations cluster. And this is wild because almost nobody open-sources middle or back-office workflows. You've got the GL reconciler, finding breaks in the general ledger and tracing root causes, or the KYC screener, parsing onboarding documents to find compliance gaps. Just 6 months ago, every single one of these back-office tasks was something a junior accountant or compliance analyst was getting paid $80,000 a year to do by hand. Okay, Section 3, Under the Hood, Architecture. Let's see how this is actually built. The core innovation driving this whole repository is agent modularity. What that means is every single named agent acts as its own completely self-contained Claude Code plugin. Inside the repository, an agent is simply a folder. Within that folder, you have an agent.md file that declares the system prompt, a skills folder with bundled markdown files, and a JSON file explicitly declaring exactly which data connectors that specific agent is allowed to call.
Now, for the indie developers and builders watching this explainer, this architecture is an absolute massive benefit to study. It relies entirely on Markdown and JSON. There is absolutely zero build step required. You can install it on Claude Code in just 3 simple commands. You add the marketplace, install the financial analysis core, and then just cherry-pick whichever agents match your specific workflow. And because each agent bundles its own vertical skills, there's zero manual dependency tracking. It just means you can iterate and build incredibly fast.
That brings us to Section 4, Orchestration and Skill Syncing.
Let's dive a bit deeper into the engine room to see how these modular pieces actually talk to each other. The repository uses an orchestrator that manages handoffs through a reference event loop. This is absolutely critical for complex financial tasks. When a request comes in, the orchestrator methodically processes the logic and routes handoff requests between the specialized agents so they work together seamlessly. So, for example, a market researcher agent can gather all the raw industry data and then seamlessly hand it right off to the model builder agent to run the live Excel model.
But the real secret weapon of this architecture is a specific script sync agent skills.py. Think of this as the system's transmission. In this setup, vertical skills are authored just once. Then, this sync script automatically pushes those shared skills out to every individual agent plugin that needs them. It ensures total consistency across the entire stack, without duplicating effort or tangling up dependencies.
Finally, Section 5, Guardrails, Security and Oversight. You might be asking yourself right now, considering the highly sensitive nature of bank operations and client data, is it actually safe to run a firm's operations through an open-source tool like this? Well, Anthropic definitely anticipated this and built in several really strong structural defenses.
To ensure strict security, Anthropic severely tightened the tool grants. No agent can shell out to bash, hit a generic web fetch, or call an undeclared connector. Furthermore, they implemented a Git leaks-based internal scan. Look, because everyone using this system is going to be holding expensive, licensed terminal credentials for data sources like S&P Global or PitchBook, this internal scan is vital. It ensures those critical API keys are never accidentally exposed in the code.
And because of all this complexity and the incredibly high stakes involved, Anthropic maintains a very strict positioning. The repository actually opens with a massive disclaimer stating none of this constitutes investment advice, and here's the key: every single output is staged for human sign-off. The agents draft the complex analysis, but human professionals must approve it. This maintains strict oversight, and it allows Anthropic to ship something this aggressive without taking on the massive liability of replacing the analyst entirely.
Now, it is really important to note the trade-offs here. You do still need those licensed data seats to make this turnkey. You can't just clone the repo and expect free Bloomberg data. But if you build software for the financial industry, this modular repository fundamentally changes your conversation with enterprise prospects. This is the new baseline. Your clients can now spin up an analyst stack themselves using this reference implementation, and they'll compare it directly to whatever proprietary software you happen to be charging for.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to explore. The baseline has shifted. Wall Street's closed-shop workflow, the methodology, the prompts, and the orchestration are literally now sitting available on GitHub. The gatekeepers have been bypassed. So, armed with this incredible new open-source toolkit, what will you build with it? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.